Come along with me as we build a nature hide and wildlife pond using recycled materials. I had a lot of thoughts in my head about what I want to incorporate into my nature hide and wildlife pool. There were several criteria that were important to me and things that I wanted to focus on. So I jotted them down and put pen to paper to help get some of the ideas out of my head and see how everything would kind of line up and look. The things that were important to me right off the bat were it needed to be off-grid, so it will only be powered by solar. I wanted to incorporate a green roof into the roof of the hide with a pollinator garden. This is Texas, so temperature is pretty critical for comfort if you're going to spend any amount of time in it. And so one of the things that I really wanted to experiment with was geothermal temperature control. And pretty much all the ideas I got for it are inspired by Earthships. If you've never heard about them, they're homes that use recycled materials and are very low impact, green, and use passive systems for the living life support systems. So definitely something to look into. So the basic layout and dimensions for the hide are depicted here. I planned it for 8 foot by 10 foot, but I'm debating going smaller and doing 6 by 8, but we'll see how that works. I'm not sure yet, and I don't have to make a decision just yet. So the hide will be facing south, and so the sun will move from the left to the right throughout the day. And if you look at this side view here, you can see that planning for the pond to be about 15 feet, and it will be using tires for the sides, cinder blocks for the side closest to the hide, and then an earth berm for the side furthest away. The hide will be buried, so you're at ground level, and then it will be cinder block construction on top of a slab with wood framing above that, and then the green roof. Now, some things that are important about this is I didn't want to impact the space too much or permanently, so I really didn't want to dig up a pond. So using the recycled materials, the tires, and Earthship inspired techniques should let me be able to make this as low impact as possible and only digging up the spot for the hide. The next most critical piece of this will be the pond, and here's a top-down view of kind of my idea of what I'm planning. Hoping for it to be about 9 feet wide by 15 feet long. Some of the things that are important are that the far end is shallower than the side closest to the hide. That will keep the wildlife at the far end. But I'm also planning on implementing a solar-powered filter and drain system with a skimmer. So the skimmer will be on the left, and that will pump water to an organic filter on the right, and that will create a water feature and aeration, and hopefully keep the pond a little bit cleaner. Here is kind of my idea for the green roof. Obviously it has to be built pretty sturdy, the structure underneath, but using another pond liner with probably 3 to 4 inches of soil. From what I've been studying, inorganic substrate is best. That gives the best drainage and the least weight. And it will have a drain system in the roof to keep it from overflowing, and that will go into supplementing the pond. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a pipe to the pond or just do like a chain gutter system, but we'll see how that turns out. So the next part is kind of the most critical for me, as well as the most complex of this build. And it's very experimental too, because I'm not even sure how well it's going to work. But being in Texas, down west of Houston here, it is hot most of the year. And I want this to be a fully enclosed, weatherproof structure that you can sleep in if you need to. And for it to do that, it needs to be cool. You can always put on enough to get warm. You can't ever take off enough to get cool. So what I've looked at through the Earthship kind of studies, a lot of them use cooling tubes, but there's a lot of issues with them from mold, condensation, and not being built properly, plus the ground shifting and getting bugs and stuff in there. So that wasn't what I wanted to do. Then I started looking at closed loop geothermal systems. And the earth stays a constant temperature the further down you go. So my hope is to be able to have this work fairly efficiently for such a small space. And it shouldn't cost too much, and it should be off-grid. So there's two different design ideas here. One is using water pipe, 3/4 inch. It's kind of like PEX, underneath the slab, like digging down and running your coolant or fluid, heat transfer fluid through that. It will be powered by a 12-volt pump that circulates the fluid, and as the fluid goes through that, it will get cooled down, and then when it comes back into the hide, it will be passed through a transmission or oil cooler with fans attached to it that moves air across it, and that will allow that fluid to take the heat back underground. So the idea in my research has showed that concrete also conducts heat better than earth. So I'm thinking about, when I build the slab, putting the coils in the slab. And they're going to be below ground level. They're not going to be super deep. They'll only be like 3 to 4 feet deep. But I'm hoping that it's enough that it will have enough heat transfer for that small of a space. The other idea is taking copper pipe and taking post hole diggers and digging once I have the earth removed for the hide and I'm already 4 foot deep, taking the post hole diggers, going another 5 feet and dropping the copper pipe down into that hole. And I'm probably going to do both systems and bring it into a manifold into the hide. That way I can experiment with this and test it out and see with data which system works better. But ultimately, it will give me the benefit of having both systems. So hopefully it works enough to make this space cool enough to enjoy. There's a lot to experiment with a system like this. Like, how much pipe do you need? So for the coil, I'm going to do 100-foot length in the slab. For the copper pipe, I'm thinking I'm probably going to do at least 20 feet, maybe 40 feet. I'm not really sure. 20 feet would be, 4 or 5 foot lengths. So we'll see. And then I'll have data to back up with the square footage of the space to kind of see actually what works, if it works at all, and if it cools. I'm more interested in the cooling aspect, but it should also warm during the winter. So, and once again, this will run off solar. It will be a 12-volt system with a pump to circulate the fluid, and then the fans for the radiator. And the one question will be having the pump speed up or slow down. Does that affect it as well, and how much so? So it'll be interesting to see. This will be the most complex part, and I'll throw some links in here for the parts that I'm planning on using for it. Last but not least will be the solar system to power everything. So I'll be using a lithium battery and a charge controller for that. The controls for the fan and circulation pump for the temperature system will run off of this, as well as the flow control for the 12-volt pond pump, if I can figure out how to do that. And then, of course, interior lighting and charging for a simple battery setup, so charging your phone or charging your camera. So that's it in a nutshell. So this is all the conceptual phase, so it's time to get started, and we'll see how it goes. This will be the first video and probably the first day of work on this hide. Alright, party people, so the entrance to the blind will be right here. There will be steps dug out, 6x8 blind here, and then we've got the reflecting pond here. Will just be as deep as these tires are. We're going to put organic filter here with a water feature, and then put a skimmer in this one to help catch leaf litter and keep it somewhat clean of detritus. I left this stump, figured that would be a good perch. Had I thought about it beforehand, I might have left it a little higher, but I think it'll be fine. And that one too, just because I didn't want to dig it up. So yeah, that will be what we've got so far. All right, so we got the feed bags cut open and ready to go for underlayment. I am thinking now I might get some 2x12s, 2 of them, 1 on each side, to keep the pond liner from going in these divots. I'm not sure. So the idea is pond liner goes up, goes over by about a foot and drops down. I'm going to eventually fill these up, I think, and use them as planters, or maybe the pond liner just goes all the way over to the ground, covers this up completely. I don't know. Both are kind of unsightly. That's the one downside to having this as a no-dig pond. But I think if I use these as planters, that's more beneficial. So I'll just have the pond liner kind of go in enough to hold it up, like, so it doesn't go out. So yeah, that's gonna be a project. I'm gonna have to get a bunch of potting soil and put down in these. Kind of got the earth berm done. I've got the retaining wall done. I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna do this. So the hose will go into the bottom, and then it will fill this up. I'll need to have this waterproof, so I'll probably get another smaller pond liner for this, and then put all my sediment in on top of the hose. That way it fills up from the bottom, and then cut a hole or something so it becomes a water feature back into the pond, and then it will be filling up from over here. I've cut this, hopefully this one will be the low one. I'll probably cut like a slit in here so that the water can, once I see what the level is, I'll figure out what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this will hopefully be the skimmer. It's getting way fancier than it needs to be, but we'll see. And then the animals will have something to drink. We have a lot of wild rabbits out here. a lot of rabbits. So I'm hoping to see those use it. We have deer around, have raccoons. I'm in a neighborhood, so like it's a little busier, so it's not super wildlife, but it's enough. Once I get this done, you can kind of see over to the right here. Sorry, that's my neighbors on that side. They're probably, well, the trees end in probably 50 to 60 yards, and their home, trailer home, whatever it is probably 100 yards away. And then the road's probably about 100 yards from here, maybe a little less. My house is over there, and it's at least 100 yards away. So, and then my neighbor behind me, that's where all their animal chicken pens and stuff are. So, and that's probably only 50 yards or less. So we'll see. But the idea is to do it as low impact as possible using recycled materials, and so far I think this is going to work. It might not be the most nice looking hide and reflecting pool, but it will serve its purpose for sure. And I've got these buried like this, or set like this, so I'll use these as planters as well, to plant something. I'm not sure yet. I don't want it to grow too tall, so maybe just some perennials or annuals for color or something. I don't know, we'll see. But it's gonna be interesting to see the water level. For some reason I feel like it's sloping this way, but I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see how the water does once I have it done. I'm gonna need to get a couple bags of sand on this side and soil to build up that berm a little bit more, because I need to have the berm be high enough before it gets to that post, that tree stump, because I'm gonna have to cut the pond liner around that tree stump, so I need it to be high. I'm hoping that's far enough away. Let's measure it real quick. Kind of curved. There we go. All right. So we're at about 11 feet, roughly, to where that stump is. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully that's far enough away. The hide will be at least 1 foot to 2 foot behind where the thing is, so that will be 12 to 13 feet. Should give plenty of distance. All right, and here's where we're leaving it for today. So we'll have our entrance right here, hide right in here, our pond here, water feature here, skimmer here, earth berm there, and down here, that's what we'll see. Debating on getting camo netting to block my neighbors a little bit on that side, but let's get the pond built first. And this is a no-dig pond, besides digging up tree roots. I did dip this down a little bit just to make it a little bit deeper, but really not much at all. And I used that to, one, build these up so they were at the same height as that, because that'll be the lowest point, and then two, used the rest of it to start on the earth berm on that side. Thanks for watching.